Please welcome to the stage moderator Tamira Chapman, President and CEO Storehouse, and her panelists, Raja Caruth, NASCAR driver, Christina Lewis, founder Beatrice Advisors, and Denise Young, author and former CHRO, Apple.
Sounded like shots. He's about to. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All is well. All is well. All is well. We got nervous for a minute, but we definitely kept our composure up here. We're dealing with professionals. We're dealing with professionals. It is my honor and privilege today to be joined by three icons who are absolutely breaking barriers and pioneering in non-traditional spaces. We're joined by Raja Caruth, 22-year-old NASCAR driver. Jesus. 22-year-old. Thank you.
That was scary.
All right. Here we go.
We're good.
We're good. It is my honor and privilege today to be joined by three icons who are absolutely breaking barriers and pioneering in non-traditional spaces. First, we're joined by Raja Caruth, 22-year-old NASCAR driver from Washington, D.C., driver of number 71 Hendricks.com Chevrolet Silverados for Spire Motorsports, and he also won the first NCTS race in 2024 at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But the reason I'm most impressed with him is that he's also a senior in college. Give it up for Raja. Next, I'm joined by Christina Lewis, founder of Beatrice Advisors, a wealth management firm, co-founder of The Giving Gap, a nonprofit database of Black-founded charities, and she was also honored by the Obama White House as a champion of change. Finally, certainly not least though, is Denise Young, former Chief Human Resource Officer of Apple and the first African American to serve in a C-suite role in Apple's history. She served as an executive under two iconic CEOs, including Steve Jobs and Tim Cook. She co-created the Apple Store culture, leading those teams globally for 12 years. She's also an author, performing and recording artist, advisor, and board director. The icons, my friends. I want to jump right into it because I know that we only have so much time here, and Raja, I'd love to just start with you. As one of three Black drivers to win a NASCAR National Touring race, what did it take to get to that point? And what strategies or mindset shifts would you offer to others that are coming behind you?
That's a great question. First of all, good afternoon, everybody. It's cool to be here. It's super special for me in racing because I've loved it since I was itty-bitty, and it's taken so much to get here. So I think one of the things that have helped me get to where I'm at now is my village of my parents, my sister for helping nurture my passion from when I was just a little kid, to the team I have around me, from my driver development side of things to my physical trainers to my professors at school. It takes a whole village to uplift an athlete or a person that is able to chase their dreams. So I think in terms of strategies that have helped me so far is just to go really one step at a time, because on the racetrack, in the race car, there's so many things happening, there's so many variables, there's so much information that is being thrown at you, and it's so important to be hyper-focused on one task at a time, whether it's the next turn, the next lap, the next pit stop. Everything matters. So I think one strategy is just compartmentalizing things and just going one step at a time.
It's excellent. Thank you. Good advice. And Christina, we'd love to hear from you about your new venture, Beatrice Advisors, which has a mission to provide high-quality financial services to a new generation of wealth. Can you tell us a little bit about Beatrice Advisors? What is it exactly, and who is the new generation of wealth?
Thank you, Tamira, and hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. Beatrice Advisors, it takes its name from my father, Reginald Lewis's company, TLC Beatrice International Foods. That it is a multifamily office. A family office is a type of company that manages wealth for wealthy families. So it invests their money, but it does it in a way that helps support the company's, the family's values. And Beatrice is the country's first Black woman-owned family office.
Excellent. Congratulations. Congratulations, Christina.
Thanks. And we say that we're modernizing wealth management, also making it more accessible. $84 trillion is set to be passed down over the next 2 decades. $84 trillion. That's Gen X and millennials who'll be receiving that money. And they think about their money differently, this new generation. There are more women with control over their money. There are a more activist mindset. And of course, there are more Black families, people of color, multiracial families, and others who are having wealth in their family for the first time. We want to be there to provide super, super high quality services for them, deliver value, because there's a lot about wealth creation, and I'll talk about my dad in a bit. But what comes after that? Well, it's wealth preservation generationally over time. That is the goal for us when we have people who can inherit. That is unfortunately something that I know a lot about, and want to translate that knowledge to this new generation of wealth.
Excellent. Thank you, Christina. And Denise.
Thank you.
Denise, you've written about your experiences on a historically Black campus, and while at Apple, you brokered one of the largest corporate donations ever. Can you talk about that experience for us?
Sure. Thank you so much, Tamira, and thank you, audience, for your attention this afternoon. I have been dedicated to the vision and the purpose of HBCUs ever since I attended one. Am I HBCU people? Oh, yes. I had a teacher, first-year literature teacher, Miss Lee Grant, and first test, she was announcing to us, here's what the curve is going to be. Here's what you have to achieve to get these grades. And then she just looked over at me and said, oh, and Miss Young, I'm going to need you to reach this amount, 95, in order for you to get an A. I was like, wait, what? I didn't have the courage to ask her in that moment, but I asked her later, and she said, well, because it was easier for you. And what she knew, and what HBCUs know, is that sometimes, in order to truly achieve equity, you have to treat people differently in order to treat them fairly. And HBCUs have understood this, and for 170 years, with tragically undersourced funding. Last year, the White House declared that 16 states owe the land-grant schools $12 billion. So with this kind of funding deficit, they have been producing a disproportionate amount of excellence throughout this world, including all of you. And what I want corporate America, and particularly tech, to understand is that this is not a one-way relationship for corporations to not just behave as benefactors, but to understand there's mutuality. There's things they could be learning from our communities and our students that testify around our resilience and our empathy and our ability to be leaders. This is what I wanted corporations to understand better, and why we designed that program.
That was fantastic, and I love reading about that when we are seen. Those experiences that you shared in the book really deepen my understanding of how I'll even approach it. Thank you for that. Christina, your father was the only Black person on the Forbes 400 in 1991, but he passed away when you were 12. What advice do you have for people in the audience who also want to create an enduring legacy?
Thank you. Yeah, Dad was great for a lot of reasons, and here we are, Forbes 400, that he was on it. He was also the first Black person to raise $1 billion, a record that stood for a very, very long time. After his death, he was the first Black person to own $1 billion company. After he died, he left part of his estate to a foundation. I'm the vice chair of the Reginald Lewis Foundation, and it's given over $35 million in its 35 years of existence. Thank you. Thank you. But the most powerful thing when we talk about legacy, it's not money, it's people. And Dad reached a lot of people in his life, but it's actually after his death, and that's because of Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? Who's read it? Yeah?
If you haven't read it, be sure to pick up a copy.
I would recommend you read it, because you know who's read it? Caden.
Caden
and his whole family have read Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? It is the Bible for many entrepreneurs and business owners. And by the way, it's not limited to Black people, but of course, many, many Black people, Kappa Alpha Psi, right? Read this book. So these thousands of people will come to me and my family, and they say, reading this book changed my life. Seeing your father on the cover of Black Enterprise, in Forbes, in Fortune, in Le Monde, and Le Figaro in France, changed my life for what Black people could do. And what you leave behind, it has to be about people. So that is the advice that I would give everyone here. Of course, building wealth and wealth creation, it's vital, right? But if you're looking to leave something behind, it's about the people that you have helped.
Fantastic, thank you. Excellent. Raja, what advice would you give to young Black professionals who are pursuing careers in industries where they're represented based on your experiences in NASCAR?
That's also a really good question. I think for me, like I mentioned before, I had the interest since I was a little kid, but I never got involved until I was almost a senior in high school. Growing up in DC, being really isolated from the world of racing, there was little to no ways to get involved in the sport. And so with that being said, it was super important for me to build connections by showing up to the racetrack when I wasn't driving and meeting team members, drivers, managers, officers, and getting my name out there and building my brand, and just showing up, because that made the difference for when I eventually did start to drive. They were able to put a name with a face, and those connections and those relationships that I had started at a younger age really paid off. So I would say by just showing up and making those connections, but also doing the little things. There was a lot of nights in high school where I just spent time racing on my simulator, practicing it to get better, and not having really any pathway to start driving. And so that all paid off to where when I started racing in real life, all those late nights and early mornings paid off. So definitely I would say just work on building those connections and being comfortable with expressing yourself, because I'm an introvert and I don't necessarily like to do things like this. So this is very cool to have developed the confidence over the years to speak publicly. So I say to, in addition to just, like I said, express yourself and get comfortable with your elevator pitch and expressing and advocating for yourself.
Raja, that's really powerful what you said, and I want to make sure that we unpack that in the right way. So you said that when you didn't have a path to understand how to get into racing, to how to even start, that you were up late nights on a simulator. So like playing a video game.
To mom, yeah.
To mom.
Is the game.
Wow, wow, wow. And I think that that's just proof that we never let anybody tell us what we can't do, and never use any excuse as to why you can't start something. So when he didn't know exactly how to start or who to call, he got busy. And all those late nights and early mornings paid off, because when you did meet the right people and you found yourselves in the right room, you were already ready.
Yes, ma'am.
Can't teach that. It's excellent. That's the gym. It's the gym. Denise, given your experience in HR and culture building, what actionable steps can young Black professionals take to foster inclusivity and innovation in their own organizations, similar to what you were able to do within Apple?
That's a great question. Thank you, Tamara. I talk to young people a lot who will say, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do my job, I'm going to do it with competence, and I'm going to do it with excellence, and that's it. It stops there. I have boundaries. I don't owe them anymore. I'm not going to extend myself anymore, etc. That's one strategy. But what I would submit for us to consider is that we have so much power that is untapped, and that we can create context and community. Context in so much as the more insight that others around us have around who we are, what we believe in, where we come from, the harder it is for us to become just a number, just a percentage, just a statistic. And in so doing, we're also creating the conditions for community. We are creating conditions for other people like us and unlike us to thrive. I call it time to thrive. If we can shorten the time to thrive inside of our organizations, everyone is better off. People want to be, and you know, we do that better than most people. And everyone wants to be on our team. They want to be a part of what we're doing. And when we can create those kinds of communal conditions, I'm not suggesting we overshare. I know Trevor Noah did a beautiful clip recently where he said, apply some emotional intelligence to how much we share, but well-timed strategic insights about who we are, what we stand for. That really, really serves us, and I would recommend that we all try to do more of that.
It's fantastic. Christina, over to you. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Ooh. It was, the best advice I ever got was from this kind of lion of private equity. Someone who my dad had worked with, not directly. And we were sitting down at lunch, and this is, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. And I said to him, you know, how are you still on top? How do you stay on top? Because, you know, you're one of the largest, most successful private equity in the world, and the competition is tremendous, right? So don't just say, oh, I work harder than everyone else. Like, everyone is working hard, you know, at that level, you know? And so he leans in. And he'd been so nice. He's kind of a big guy. He'd been so nice. I'm just like, oh, wow, this is intense. And he goes, you have to find your edge. And I was like, oh, my God. They cheat. That is the answer. That is what they've been doing. I mean, not like literally, and they're very careful for everything to be legal. But essentially, you find the thing that you can do that, like, no one else can really do. And that's how you get to the top. Then you put a moat around it so that no one else can do it. And, you know, business is tough, but yeah, that is the best advice I ever got, because I got it directly from the lion's mouth.
Find your edge.
Directly from the lion's mouth.
Excellent.
I'm sorry. Look, I should be more inspirational, right? I'm just like spending all this.
Well, you got it from the lion's mouth. I trust it.
Dude.
I trust it.
Dude.
Raja, who's your biggest role model?
Probably my dad. I don't know where he's at.
Where is
Somewhere.
Dad?
Yeah, he's also Clark alum. So, yeah. I don't know where he is, but probably my dad. I think from, you know, immigrating from St. Vincent with his brothers and sisters to, you know, growing up in Brooklyn and then coming down here and, and having myself down here and my sister later on. Really just the standards that both him and my mom have set for my sister and I to continue our education, but also give us what we need to pursue our dreams. So I'd really say my dad and my mom.
Excellent. And shout out to mom and dad. Mm-hmm. Denise, what's one book everyone should read?
One book that I recommend?
Everyone should read.
I will say that Isabel Wilkerson, in both of her books, Warmth of Other Suns and Cast, changed my life. I went and bought like 2 cases of her first book and gave them out, and Cast the same. What I found was it shifted my understanding of having everything sitting in just the construct of race, and shifted it and expanded it so that I had a greater understanding, a global understanding of the hierarchy of humanity.
Yes.
And what that means, and that there's always going to be someone on the bottom, there's always going to be someone on the top, and we have to do all we can to make sure that we exist and thrive in the place along that hierarchy that we choose to sit upon, and not that is forced upon us. And I highly recommend both of those.
That's excellent, and a perfect place to end. We thank you all so much. It was an honor and privilege to spend some time with you this afternoon. Thank you to our panelists.